To Beyond the Fundamentals. In this video, we're just having a chat. We're chatting about what challenges or points of growth do you detect happening in your life right now? And what do you think, like if you have ears to hear, what do you think they are telling you? What are these points of growth telling you about how to align with your proper future self? That's the deal. Last week, we had two people share what they think they're going through from their perspective, and then we asked them questions and grilled them real hard. Just kidding. It's not that bad. So I'm interested in transformation. I'm interested in growth, and I'm interested in people. I want to hear, see what we can talk about, see if we have a collective sense of growth that's happening in our own lives. And that's all. That's all I have to say for intro. And if nobody else wants to start off, I can keep talking, which I
Well,
prefer not to do.
I would just say also to complement that last week, it was kind of profound to see where, just one individual's retrospective or even or introspective attempts brought the whole where their introspection brought the entire group,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I kind of feel like last week was a little bit of a wild ride. It was fun. It was insightful and it was helpful, So I didn't, leaving the forum kind of open like that in some sense allowed for the possibility space to bring the group wherever the person's introspective power allowed the ship to steer. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing what that provokes.
Want me to start off?
I was hoping you would say that, Billy.
Well, let's see. I guess my patience has been worked on in the last year and a half. I have kind of like some psychopath neighbors around me.
Psychopath neighbors?
Oh, yeah. We're talking people who boast that they're on their way to hell and who can come with them. I'm serious. And
are they really boasting? I should just let you talk.
No, they are really boasting. You can't even reason with these people. You can't even have a conversation with them. It's and they're right next door to me. Okay. And it's just one of these things where they just keep on needling me every day if they can. They don't stop. I mean, I get flipped off. It was all over a privacy fence.
Oh,
yeah.
You have a neighborly dispute.
Well, I mean, and the thing is they don't let up, and they hate the neighbors behind them. I mean, I really feel like the devil's living in this home, big time. Literally, and I mean that. I mean, you'd have to. I mean, I have talked with people before where you can reason with somewhat of the conversation. There is no you can't reason. There's no reasoning. It's almost like it's almost borderlining like possession. Not foaming at the mouth. Okay, but literally, it's some serious stuff. And even I talk to state police, and people, and I'm really not trying to get the law involved with these people. I'm just trying to, in patience. Just imagine if you drive home whenever you cross paths, you get the bird. okay, especially from the lady. And she does it to our the people that live behind them. And the thing is we don't have, we're close, we're kind of, I mean, we're not really on a lot of property. And so the patience, it has, yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, very difficult. I have some really interesting conversations with the Lord. Uh-huh. Watch what you pray for.
So
Sometimes,
what were you praying for? You think this is a result of your
well,
prayers?
well, no, what, yeah. What I mean by is, I always used to, pray. Okay, I used to pray to God. I realized that, man, one neighbor can just totally turn it upside down in the sense of the atmosphere in where you live. And I used to pray. I used to thank God. Thank you for not allowing, this stuff to come in my direction or whatever. And then next thing you know, lo and behold, man, it's challenging, very challenging, because it's an everyday thing. It's not like, we try to avoid them when we can, but it's just you can feel the discernment is you can feel the spirit of hell literally living next door. And I mean that totally 100%, because even when the fella came driving up the driveway a couple years ago, because this gal's been with a few different men, and he got out his vehicle. I never seen him before, and I said to myself, that is trouble. That man, it's like the Bible says, the countenance, you can sometimes see the countenance on an individual. And I have talked to, there's a state police that lives about maybe not quite a half mile from me that, I'll chat with him. Then across the street, he used to be an ex-state police. And, and his wife mentioned, one of them anyways, mentioned, yep, sometimes people just wear it. They just wear it and they can't, they're just, he's about your height, Kevin, but he's a little taller. He's 6'6". And
I can take him.
Oh, that's why I was hoping I can invite you up sometime. But anyways,
How big a boy are you?
yeah. I mean, I'm short. I'm getting old, but I'm not too bad. But but it's patience, and it's been very difficult not to retaliate. That's where I'm going with this. It's like you want to retaliate somehow, and and I can tell you right now, they are not open to any kind of discussion. Nothing. You cannot. It's impossible. So that's been a struggle. Okay, we talk about, because we were mentioning the struggles, but the patience part. Trying to smile when I walk out the door. If I get flipped off, just smile again. It's like. I'm just really, and it was all again over a little privacy fence, and then what really ticked it off is I put security cameras up, because the guy ended up cutting my gas line on my grill, my gas grill, literally cutting it in a point where if you turned it on, it would leak out, and I didn't know if he had any intentions, if would I have a match with me? This is what I'm dealing with, man.
Yeah.
Very serious stuff. Evil does exist. I can tell you that. And that's been a tough one, been a real tough one. But the blessings and the growth, I would say, is in patience, but just in transformation of, man, I'll tell you what, you just realize how much, when you love your family and the truth, just what a place to be. The Christian walk is not an easy walk. Anybody out there who ever thinks, hey man, Christians got it made, it's hard. It's hard. I can't imagine without Christ, but let me tell you, it's still hard with Christ. And you just got to keep on persevering, just like the Bible says, persevere. And it's always talking about that. And just sometimes we're fleshly beings, and we try to you know, there's good moments, but there's also weak moments, you know, and then according to the scriptures, we're made strong in our weakness, you know, so that's another one when you're, you know, um, I think and we don't see it all the time because it's hurting. It's hard. You know, it's just like if you worked out, you know, you're like enduring the whatever and this don't feel good. And, you know, next thing you know, 6 weeks later, you're going, wow, well, you know, I feel better, you know? So during that process, you know, walking, I can't imagine living this life without Christ, you know, Jesus Christ. I can't imagine, like I say, to me, it's hard enough, but the thing is when you, at least for me, this is me speaking personally, the discernment factor just really came in, you know, not recently. It came in a long time, you know. I mean, when I was probably like 27 to 23 years old, it all started then. And it's an exercise. Discernment is an exercise. And but anyways, transformation. What I'm on this journey. I seem to be going up. Sometimes, you know, you don't feel like you're going up. Things I struggle with in my Christian walk, and you know, I'm not afraid to say it. It's not like I'm boasting either, but it's like when you see the injustice going on in this world, and you just would like to see the Lord. I don't know if the right word is step up. I don't want to say that because that would sound like, you know, but you know,
Like he's derelict of duty or something.
which we know he's not, right? And the thing is his patience now is beyond my patience, right? His love is beyond my love because that's the love I'm trying to grab. That's the love I'm trying to anchor onto. And, you know, and that's, you know what I'm getting at. So, yeah, you know, where am I blossoming, and where I think in my walk is just being able to, you know, I don't know, my wife, you know, my love keeps just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And there's a joy in that. And there is, and it's interesting because the Bible talks about being joyful, but it's really not, I guess, you know, it's not like going out to some kind of concert and being happy and then coming back with some kind of like feeling. It's like being able to joy through the stuff is really where I think the rubber meets the road. At least it's supposed to, right? It's kind of hard to, you know, have joy in the midst of stuff around us that's happening. I mean, that's a hard one to do, you know. So it's kind of like a roller coaster sometimes. Sometimes it evens out. Sometimes it feels like you're going down, and then you pick back up. I don't know. Do any of you guys feel that in your walk? I mean, you know, I mean, it's like, I'm just kind of letting it all hang out here.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
How do you, when you're joyful, what's your sense of relationship to your values?
You know, that is a great question, and I can answer that. When I am joyful, it's like, I always think of like, man, if this is just a taste of what the kingdom of God would be, it's wonderful. And it's, say that one more time again.
What's your sense of connectedness? What's your sense of relationality to your values? Are you in right relationship with your values? And how does that tie into your, is there a causality of relationship there?
Well, yeah, there is. And when I'm joyful, I just have such good thoughts, just good thoughts. And they're not worldly thoughts. They're I don't know. Let me explain it this way. Like, say for instance, if I get full of joy, it's like, man, being in a kingdom of God where you feel no darkness, where you feel no none of that stuff. It's almost like it disappears, and it's like, wow, if this is a taste of real joy, it's like purity. It's really what purity is beautiful. Okay, sometimes like when we're brought up, I used to think, being brought up in Catholicism, purity was how the Catholics made you feel like, well, this is pure, you got to go do this, you got to do this ritual, you got to do that. And it's like totally the opposite. It's like this total freedom, and this wonderful, wonderful feeling. It's just, and it's like an exhilaration. It's like a high, but not high where, you're stoned out, man. And you're, it's a high that is you know what I mean? It's an exhilaration of a lot. It's just energy, like, wow, I can see why maybe people don't sleep, when after you die, maybe because if you're eternal, because it's like you got all this wonderful energy where you go, wow, I could stay here. I could literally stay there, and then it'll dissipate down, just like anything else, because it's just like I said, we're still in our flesh. So we're going to always be battling our flesh. And that's a fact. We're always going to battle the flesh till the day we die. That's a give me.
So could I ask a question that I think is a derivative of Kevin's question, but is
Sure.
meant to complement it? It's something like, what I notice whenever I feel like I've made growth or change in my life, I think that the noticeable change or the growth or whatever it might be, really just boils down to a change in what I'm paying attention, what's valuable to me. So like the more simplified way of saying that is, what have you found throughout these changes? Like I remember hearing you say, bring something out about discernment in between the ages of like 23 and 27. And it's like, what was the thing when you were 22 and coming into 23, and then when you were 27 going to 28, that were, it's not necessarily to say that they were different values. It's just to say that how did what was important to you change?
They were growth spurts. I'd call them growth spurts. Okay.
Yeah.
So it had actually basically probably started when I was 19, but everything started, growth spurts in discernment, meaning like I'd be finding more of what's right, and then also what's not right, and then hanging on to what's right, biblically in my spirit. I would sense, and this is just me talking. Okay. So say for instance, when I was, I think I was probably 21, and I was up north where I live, and I went down on business, and I visited my music. I got music buddies, and so imagine I'm like 21, 22, right in that area. And my buddy goes, man, you ever heard this group, Dream Theater? And I said, well, no, man. So I go in the house, and all this odd timing, and all this, and it was
I know
like
that song.
Yeah, and it blew me away. Far as the musicianship. Now, hopefully, I won't hit a bad note here, because I always like go. It knocked my socks off. But the part that when I walked out of there, because
Watch what you say next.
Right, but here's just me though. My
Dream
heart.
Theater's my favorite group.
It's okay. Mike Pontier. I got one of his DVDs. Okay, so it's not a. I see. So I come from the prog rock, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Okay, I met Carl Palmer. All right. I got a couple tickets to Asia, but long story short, that's the kind of drummers that I was into. Yes, all that stuff. I used to practice with weights on my arm for speed to see how fast I could get, that kind of thing. Okay, so but now when I got out of there and I listened to it, the thing that struck me, and this is me in my spirit, right? Because I'm on my journey. I says, that musicianship was phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. But the spirit of the music, I didn't want to, it just didn't sit with me. When I say the spirit, it just would, if I was to listen to that day in and day out, what would it put me in a frame of mind? And that's where, to me, it's like, okay, I just couldn't sense to get caught up too much into them. Now, can I learn stuff from these guys? Absolutely. But for me, it's just, and that's the way I've been going through a lot of things, with my music, it's like, meaning when I came to Christ, I don't know if I want to say I came to Christ, but when I was 19, basically, it was like a light went on. I always believed when I was 4 years old. Okay. I mean, when I was 4 years old, I remember being in bed sick, and I really believed in what Jesus did, and it was amazing. But being in Catholicism, I was so indoctrinated with all the junk that came with it. And then the growth spurts, Nick, is when I was 19, it was almost like a reality went on of what's around me, because I was kind of like suppressing the world. You're young, you want things to look good, you want things to look more hopeful in the world, right? The world isn't really as bad as what they're saying it is, being brought up in the United States, I remember being in in elementary school thinking, who can come against the United States? It felt like, you felt like, there was some security there, right? False security. But when you're a kid, that's what I thought. So, but when I was 19, that a light went on, and it was like, I just seen things different. Okay. I just seen things different. Now, I didn't put the percussion away. I didn't put the love of music away. And I didn't put the appreciation of what good music is. Okay. Am I going to call Dream Theater, bad music? I'm just saying it's got a spirit to it that I don't want it, because it doesn't really bring me joy. Me, when I hear it. Now, when I hear certain harmonies, because they had a dark kind of like Phantom of the Opera notations going on. And I know that now, but that's the kind of thing that I kind of just felt, this very theatrical Dream Theater. Well, I mean, these guys are Berkeley, so, okay. But there's a spirit there that I just thought, that's not what I'm into. Now, Asia, right? The group Asia, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Now, somebody would say, hey, I think Asia's evil. Okay, that's fine, or whatever. Their spirit that they don't want to get into. But, I used to, like, the way I view it is when I listened to Asia, I thought their music was more noble sounding. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I like majestic music. And I like big music. I like powerful music, but noble. And that's how I related to, like, even Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I'd like look at Palmer and say, he's more of a classy drummer. To me, that's just me. So,
can I jump in there for a second?
Yeah.
Because I just want to relate to your story a little bit, because on Points of Growth, I find myself having opinions about music that in the past was very shaped by ideology. And I was also susceptible to resentment, still am. But I remember, for example, in the past listening to Dream Theater at a time when I had had a breakup with my girlfriend because of she was sweet on a guy named Brad. And I was particularly resentful. And I would listen to this music, and it would fuel my resentment. Well, once I realized that was happening, I'm like, maybe that's not the best thing for me. So I would take a break for a while. Well, later on, and when I say later on, I'm like more than 2 decades later, after doing some study and some growth and some other things, I realized that there were some in the themes of the music, there were some Jungian psychology themes. And what used to make me resentful before now encourages me with ideas on how to integrate the shadow. It's a completely different experience is what I'm trying to say. And the music never changed. I did.
Yeah. Can I jump in? I don't want to interrupt you because this is awesome.
And then also with Christian music, something similar. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. So when you said that you felt at the time that the particular phase of Dream Theater music's or album that you were listening to, or the specific song that it fueled the resentment.
Right.
Well, I find that like music has a way of maybe not necessarily fueling it, but helping one in a non-linguistic way articulate your resentment
Like,
and shape it
yeah, that's a
and
really good way to
understand it.
say
It's
that.
not necessarily in a linguistic way. Sometimes the lyrics can help you do that, but the music itself can help your body articulate particular emotions slash feelings that it might have. And so I find that some types of particular music helps me to articulate something that I'm feeling, and I'm in tune because I've listened to this particular song or band so many times
Right.
that it's almost like the music is like a some kind of a filter by which I can push through whatever this experience or this emotion is, and push it through this particular filter, and it comes out with an understandable and self-regulated shape of a or form of a person that is now integrated into whatever circumstance I might happen to be a part of. So I don't look at music in the, I don't want to say superficial way, but in like the Channel 8 news way, where it's like, oh, this particular band is encouraging kids to go, on mass, tirades and things like that. It's like, nah, I don't know about that. I think music is a little bit more sophisticated than that. I don't think music is doing that. I think it's helping people to articulate a particular thing that they might be feeling in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that it can't influence you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's a little bit more dynamic. It's a lot more dynamic than a particular song or band or whatever, what have you, influencing and like manipulating you and controlling you to go do a certain thing. There has to be some kind of there has to be some kind of seeds with the person for a particular thing in the first place. So
That
when
is
you were
true.
saying that, when you were saying that, it really, I just wanted to take that moment and try and express that, because I know that the music thing in the Christian world is super overly moralized, and I don't appreciate that, because music has a way of tethering people to the world in a meaningful way that no other medium has the ability to do. People who are suicidal, people who are going through a lot of really, really tough stuff, music is one thing that will keep them going and help them. And so anything that helps cultivate a meaningful relationship with life, I think is something we should be careful about hijacking and moralizing and using to beat over other people. Yeah, that's my little, yeah.
Well,
thing about that.
King David played a Saul, didn't he? Remember
The
King
Saul?
David? He played music to
The
Saul
King
because
Saul.
King Saul. That's
Oh,
what I
for
meant.
Saul. I thought
King
you
Saul.
said played the saw. I'm like,
He might have played
I
the Saul.
missed that. Like,
Possibility. He might have put some strings on it.
like a little juice harp saw.
So, right? I mean, and the thing is I get what you're saying, Nick. Far as like even in everybody thinks because they put the label Christian on it, it makes it Christian. And to me, it's like I've been down that avenue and come through, and I don't buy the ticket that, well, if they claim they're Christian and this is Christian, it's Christian, because they say it's Christian, right? I mean, that's kind of like moralizing, a group by a name, and you have to look at things deeper. And so, but my journey, I guess it's me, I mean, and I don't try to offend people. It's like, I believe there's just like we have the knowledge of good and evil. I think that the knowledge of good and evil also is in music. I think the spirit of good and evil is in music. And it's like take John, let's go from John Williams to, some rap group or something, right? I'm just saying John Williams, and then you go, and now it's sophisticated. Now, when you look at John Williams, that's very sophisticated stuff, very harmoniously put together. I mean, everything's just perfectly in harmonics the way he writes it. But then, yet again, you have to discern what that's doing or what it's cultivating, and figure it out. To me, I can go in back from a Star Wars movie and not necessarily be influenced the wrong way, and I can come out on some discernment factors, say, well, this is what I see, but now I can't make this person see that, and nor do I want to beat somebody up because I can't. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Remember that, Dan?
Where's Dan?
So you have polar opposites, right? So you'd have, I used to say you'd have the stiff neck Baptist is going to watch Star Wars. Da 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 da. You'd have that going on, and then
how's that again?
Then they would complain that if you play drums, or whatever, you're an evil person. If you played electric guitar, you're evil. See, so it's like, where you got to find it yourself. This is like about yourself and your relationship with God.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like, you can look at in my opinion, you can look at your relationship to different things and use your relationship to that to measure how you have changed, which change might not necessarily be growth, but you can ascertain how much you have changed. And strangely enough, when it comes to music, I used to be an all hymns kind of person and a no contemporary kind of person. And then I would acquiesce to contemporary if the situation called for it and it wasn't worth the fight or something like that. Well, now I'm finding difficulty with the hymns more than I ever thought that I would, for several reasons. And I'm also finding that now I'm able to have a moving experience to contemporary music, which I wasn't able to have before. So it's like you can kind of I guess you look at your perspective towards something as you see it pass by on the river. I don't know. As you
Kevin, you enlighten me. Kevin, just real quick, and I'll let somebody start talking. Kevin, you enlightened me on the hymns when you said, they got the lyrics going, and it's kind of like Reformed theology, kind of like built in to the lyrics, right? And I'm kind of paraphrasing or just kind of bringing up what you said, and I never ever even gave that a thought until you and I used the word you enlightened me to see it from that perspective. And
yeah, it's very sly. It's very subtle.
But it got me. You another little piece of discernment. See, I took that and said, okay, I can deal with that, and I understand it, and it makes sense, 100%. And then that's growth. That's growth in your spiritual walk. I would have never even thought twice about it. And then you brought it up, right? And I'm a music guy. So there you go.
Well, so music is art. It's a form of art, and art is supposed to convey a feeling and an emotion. It's supposed to transmit the emotion of something to you, not just inform you.
Yeah.
And
so you did your I keep interrupting. I'm sorry.
Well, if you like, for example, if you see a statue of Michelangelo's David, Jordan Peterson says that statue says you're not as good as you could be. That's what it's telling. It's got a message to it. But if you see a statue and that you have to stare like it's just this magnificent thing. I actually went to Florence and saw it. But if you see a statue to Lenin or Stalin, it's just propaganda. Right. And so there's this thing where when art is, or what should be art, is used in the employment of a particular message, it stops to be art and it starts being propaganda. So if I have an ideology and I'm trying to use music to further an ideology, it's no longer art, it's propaganda. Does that
That's
make sense?
insightful. Yeah, that's insightful. Yes, absolutely, 100%.
What were you going to say,
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah. And in lieu of what you were saying about art as or music as supposed to express something, in lieu of the video you posted today with Jordan Peterson and Ian McGilchrist, in Ian McGilchrist's book, The Master and His Emissary, he goes at great length to show that actually music itself precedes even language in in an infant's mind, and in the fundamental structures of how meaning is communicated. So like an infant, I don't want to botch this up too badly, but an infant will learn to recognize the patterns within music before they will learn to recognize the patterns that are in language. And so there's other, like, so language, they have to not just understand the phonetic sound, or at least be able to replicate it or process the pattern of the phonetic sound, but then they have to place a very particular meaning to the connection of phonetic sounds, making a word, you know what I'm saying, and then a whole sentence. And with music, it's not as fractionated and specific. Like there's not a piece of music that is specifically designated to pointing at mom, you know what I'm saying? So it leaves the patterns a little bit more ambiguous, and a little bit more in like a open flow state with what kind of experiential communication can be kind of broadcasted and understood. So like just generally what I'm just saying is that music precedes language as a communicative medium.
Now, I was thinking about talking about music. In a sense, it seems that we're talking about more than one thing. I mean, there are different kinds of music and different like reactions to music. And some of those could be, well, if you look at movies and television, and you see at the beginning of a scene, you don't hear any words spoken. You just hear the music, and you know, like if it's a detective show, maybe you know from the context, but music can evoke a certain mood, or emotion, and then I think of, is that just something inherent, or is it something that an entire culture has learned, as part of their culture? And maybe, or is it, some of it is one and some of it is the other. And that's the apples and the oranges, different aspects of music and different types of music.
That is a good point.
One thing I've noticed too, some people comment on music on YouTube, and that they're into modern music, and they say, well, somebody in the comments asked me to react to something by Beethoven, and I've seen their jaw drop. They knew nothing about Beethoven, and they hear his, Fifth Symphony or something, and they love it. They're impressed by it. I think some of Beethoven's music can be encouraging or inspiring. And here's another thought. If some music can evoke positive moods or emotions, could some other music evoke negative emotions? And is that something that it might be wise to maybe not totally, avoid, like Paul wrote to the Corinthians, you can't avoid being with sinners altogether. You have to leave the world, but maybe to minimize some of that type of music if it evokes the negative.
Yeah, and also I think a top-down understanding of how it can affect you is also a protection measure against it affecting you. So as soon as you hear,
Right.
you're like, wow, that's affecting me emotionally. I better not let myself become dysregulated in an unconscious way.
Yeah, it
Yes.
really goes to what Kevin was saying about uh the anec the experience he had with the Dream Theater song, revisiting it years later and understanding that, okay, fine, the song in some ways evokes some kind of a sense of resentment, but the important part is that you're going to experience resentment in your life regardless of the music you listen to. And so if you have something that helps you articulate it and look at it and helps you integrate that resentment into the form of the person that you are in the present moment, then to me it's like like you have to be able to do that. You have to. It's like it's not an option, because then you just stand there dysregulated inside of your resentment without any way of really understanding, without any way of helping express or mirror whatever's confusing or causing a disorientation within the presentation of your behavior or your personhood in a given situation. So I think that we really have to stay away from the moralizing music. I can feel that inside of Christian circles so much, and it's like you better be careful with, like, we moralize language. Like Kevin goes through it all the time in videos where we will use language in order to hijack other people's beliefs and opinions and what they feel about themselves. And I think we ought to be careful with moralizing language. And then I think we maybe should take a step back and be even more careful about moralizing something that precedes language, like music. You know what I'm saying?
Could I expound on and ask you a question, Nick? Like, say, for instance, on moralizing music. Tell me if this would maybe fit your description of it, maybe from a different angle. I remember going into 20, 30 years ago, going into a church, and the pastor was in there, and they had on this Beatles tune, Twist and Shout. Come on, come on, come on, baby now, right? Okay, they had the Beatles song, but the lyrics were, come on now, Jesus now. And they changed the lyrics in the whole song. And to me, it was like they tried to moralize that vibe of that tune by changing the lyrics. And so that in one sense is like, could that also be like moralizing something that's not should be moralized? You know what I'm trying to say? Because it's from a different perspective. I think music is sophisticated because I could take like We Could Work It Out by the Beatles, and I'd go and just recently I'd listen to that tune and I loved the harmony and in the song and the harmonies in there. We can like, it's too short, and you listen to the lyrics and they're all really good. There's only one part in there where it says "See It My Way," right? But besides the point, it's a beautiful
I don't think
piece.
he's saying moralize in the sense of to add Jesus and make it moral.
No,
We're not
I'm saying that's
baptizing it.
right, but I'm
But
saying that's one angle that you could where Christians are moralizing music. It's just one facet.
to bathe an existing work in moralistic language, like someone said, like minor keys are evil, and I think they were joking, but a particular thing, this is bad or this is good. Well,
Right.
what's bad or good sometimes is extremely subjective, and it might actually be bad for you I mean, for example, if you just got bit by a zombie, it might be time to cut off your arm. But otherwise, it's probably bad for you.
Yeah,
You know?
to put
Yeah.
it simply, whenever I'm saying moralize, I'm just getting at creating a synthetic man-made value structure of this is better than that.
Mhm.
That's really what I'm getting at.
That's a really good, yeah. That's a good way to say it.
Devoid of
I think-
context. Devoid of context. Devoid of context.
Yeah, and I think that kind of moralizing of music actually interferes with our ability to have a meaningful conversation about music in the life of a Christian in general, and as used in corporate worship specifically, because we've created these artificial moral judgments about different kinds of music.
Mhm.
We can no longer actually evaluate the music we're using.
Thank you, Dan. That was so well said. It's like
Here's-
there's the massive thick layer of morality that prevents us from having, like you said, a meaningful conversation about what's going on right now.
And I see
I-
something. Oh, go ahead.
Sure,
Dan.
Joe, go ahead.
Well, I see something. It's not like morality is bad. It's more like that to say that all of a certain type of music or a certain song is always bad for all people is taking making a claim probably on the basis of inadequate evidence and foundation to make such a claim. It's like there's a condom quit, or is that the broad generalization, or just going beyond what is, justified? There's that aspect to it.
Kind of like a Dunning-Kruger kind of thing. People have a lot of opinions about it.
Yeah,
It may not be grounded in. Go ahead.
And you said something, Kevin, that I was thinking of too, that depending on the different people listening to certain piece of music, it may have different impacts on those different people, and
So, this thought popped in my head real quick. Frank Garlock puts out all this information about exact strict rules about what kind of music you can and cannot have in your church. And basically, you want to have an emphasis on melody and then harmony and then rhythm in that order. And if they get out of balance in that regard, it will get because melody relates to spirit and harmony relates to soul and rhythm relates to body. I mean, they got it all worked out, and if you got too much rhythm, it gets to your body. And so that's bad. So you don't want to have that. And it, it just occurred to me that rhythm and music is extremely participatory. And if you want to keep somebody ideologically possessed, you might want to keep them away from participatory knowing so that you can keep them grounded in the propositional ideology.
that reminds
If you play
Go.
music that has an emphasis on the beat on 2 and 4, you kind of want to dance to it. If you have the emphasis on 1 and 3, then you kind of want to march to it and you want to go to battle. Well, if you are preaching ideology and then you want your music with 1 and 3 so people feel committed to it. And that's the spirit that it gives. It's interesting how what I once saw as deliverance from Satan's music, I now see as potentially greatly deceptive.
And, I was thinking about David, who danced before the Lord at one place in the Bible, and his wife just thought that was so horrible,
Was it Tamar?
She was a Baptist.
He was dancing naked though. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, in the Baptist church, we weren't allowed to have sex because they were afraid it would lead to dancing.
Here's kind of like me, my own personal thing of what I do when I listen to something. How does it affect me? What does the music do to me? Does it send me in this direction? Does it do this to me? What do I get out of it in my Christian walk? And where does it take me? And that's just kind of how I look at it. You know, I could listen to something probably like I listen to jazz, you know, maybe somebody, the Baptists will think certain jazz is bad, you know. I mean, I listen to a lot of music. I listen to, you know, how about Yanni? You ever heard of Yanni? I'm
Piano
just
player?
saying, yeah. And, you know, the thing is how does it, where does it send me? What does it do to me? How does it make me even closer to thinking about God or loving my family? Or how does it, I mean, you can, why does it make you feel angry? Does it make you violent? You know what I mean? That's how I look at, I mean, I don't listen to music, doesn't make me violent, but I'm just saying I wouldn't listen to it anyways. If I feel like there's just a certain thing to it, I don't want nothing to do with, but how does it send me forth to where I want to go? And that's my own little checklist when I'm listening. I don't know about anybody else, but that's just me, you know? I mean, you know, and that's me, and that's between me and God. You know, I can't teach anybody that. You know, you can't teach anybody, you know, your relationship with God and your music. You know, it's just when you're there, you at least for me, and I'm kind of like just pouring my heart out. You know, it's just I just say, what did it do to me? Did it make me feel not? I don't want to use the word feel, but did it feed me the right stuff to send me in the direction that I need to go? There you go. That's as best as I could say it. Did it feed me the right stuff in the direction that I need to go? And that's how I would explain my view of music. And, you know, like I say, I could listen to certain Beatles tunes and go, wow, I like that. You know, I mean, it didn't do anything bad to me, but did it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to like lay it down. I don't want people to think I'm like this, you know, I own real estate on music, which I do not, you know, but I have my own thoughts on it.
So I hear a sense of and I could totally be wrong. And I have a sense when you're talking, Billy, that you have like Christian values that are kind of a pair of lenses, and you're seeing the world through them from the time you're 18. And I want to hear like your capacity to take those glasses off and look at those, rather than just assess that the way you're seeing things tells you something about music, or tells you something about your neighbor, or tells you something about yourself on whether or not you have patience or need it, and the direction that you should go. Maybe how do I know what direction I should go? Why am I thinking the way I do? Why do I think that whether or not something aligns through these lenses constitutes discernment? Like reflect on that by which you discern.
That's a good question. And the thing is me, when you say these lenses, my lenses that I try to look through is my relationship with God, because I do have a relationship with him. You know, whether I'm on my game or off my game, I still have a relationship. And I can honestly say that the lenses that I try to look is, again, does it send me in the right direction I should go? Meaning, should I have more love? Should I have more patience? Should I have more should I do more towards these people? I guess what I'm trying to say is there is an outcome. It's kind of like when you read the scriptures. You know, can good and bad water flow out of the same fountain? It can't. Impossible. You can't. You know, you can't have good and bad water coming out to drink. You got to have either good water or it's going to be bad water. There's all these scriptures which is my map. I have a map, and I have to then be in tune to that. And it's kind of like the Holy Spirit witnessing to you. But one thing I have learned is not to be, in my journey as a Christian, not to be so judgmental on maybe people that don't see it exactly the way I see it. Okay. And, you know, like my granddaughter, I says, you know what, honey, she's 15 years old. And I says, you do not have to believe anything that you can't verify. If you hear it on the news, you don't have to believe it unless you can verify it. And to me, I got to be able to verify my walk and journey in this life. And the scriptures is my foundation. I mean, there's no other place I can go to look for, to correct, what I'm walking in. I mean, it was given to us, the word of God. And that's another thing. Music, vibration. This is a thought. God spoke the worlds into existence by his word. Vibration, audio, superpower audio, when you think about it. And that's pretty amazing. Remember, Kevin, we were talking, I think, like
yeah, we were on the phone.
Yeah, in our conversations tonight, is we're speaking in harmony or we're in disharmony. And meaning as Christians, we speak in harmony in one. And then there's a song. I think Nick even brought that up a few times past. When we're, to have harmony going on, there's more than just words. It's harmoniously. And so meaning I think music is quite astoundingly baffling, but at the same time amazing. So, but anyways, my lens is the Bible, but I got to make sure I don't moralize the Bible to what I think it is. It's like it's telling me something, and I want to make sure that I try to understand what it's telling me and not me make something that it's not. And that's one of the biggest discernment things that, you try to go through life. And, because you say lenses, I mean, my lens is the word of God. And
so has anything ever happened to you since you were converted at 19? Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anything happened to you between then and now that's really caused you to question those lenses?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like say for instance, oh gosh, how would I'm always double checking myself. I mean, it's like, you always got to double check your, like when you even write a letter, you got to double check your, your wording. You have to double check. So what have I changed? Well, like for instance, from the time I was 19 to now, and then probably 33, the John MacArthur thing. I couldn't figure it out. I could not figure it out until I realized I was in a prison of self-worship, in a sense. That's all I can tell you. And that was, transferring out of there. I used to think I was a pretty lonely person about Calvinism until I found you, and then you became my young hero. I thought, here's a guy who's really kind of, I get it, I understand it, but he's making me see presuppositions through a different lens. I never really thought of presuppositions. I mean, I understood certain things of Calvinism that was wrong, but you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, them lenses change, I mean, again, the hymn thing, you brought up the hymn thing a couple of Zooms ago. I never thought of that. To me, that's looking at it through another lens. I took off my lens and I looked through your pair of eyes, in a sense, the lenses that you were looking through. And I says, wait, I could see that clear. Does that make any sense? So when you say lenses, I think when we're sharp, it's like iron sharpens iron, right? Like the Bible says. And, one thing I have learned in my Christian walk is not to turn down a good idea from anybody. And even when I used to, be in charge of my business, I told my guys at my work, I said, we have 20 ideas and one flies and it's good. We're going to run with it. So that's the mindset that I have, in the sense of, lenses. I mean, I don't think I have the pair of lenses that I want fixed to my face. It's meaning, again, back when you brought up the hymns, I didn't just keep my lenses on and say, well, you keep yours on. I actually took my lenses off and says, wow, I like what I see, and it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, does that make any sense to you?
I think so.
We're all here in this Christian walk to help each other. And one thing that's really, we got to try to get down is pride. And we all can struggle with pride. And you know, in with the music thing, you're right. We can moralize this sophisticated beautifulment of music. But Joe brought up about the vibe of music. You could have you know, like Jaws. Gun, 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 gun. You know something bad's coming. You don't even have to talk. The evil's coming. This, you know, this benevolent thing. And you don't. There's no one speaking. What is that? Why is that? Right? You know what I'm saying? There's, you know, you got the hero comes in. You know, da 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 da. You got all this nice harmonies going on, and no one has to say anything. It's the happy part of the movie, you know. It's like the climactic point. No one's talking, right? So music does play with emotions, but I'll leave it with this because I've talked enough. I honestly believe too, music can manipulate emotions. Think about that. Music also can manipulate emotions where you don't
Definitely.
need to be manipulated at. And that's what I also learned in my walk since I was 19 to now, is not to be manipulated because something sounds good and something, you know, where is it taking me? Where is it leading me? It's kind of like, the only way I can explain that one is, you know, like the Force in Star Wars. You know, I think it's great music. I look at the dialogue and it's all great, but me, I don't need to go to the Force. You know what I'm saying? So where is it leading me? That's just me. So it can manipulate. And I said enough for tonight. You guys, it's been great though. I'd like to hear, you know, somebody else.
Any reactions to this concept about the lenses, the music, anything? Any thoughts on this? And by the way, Will, welcome aboard. I think this is your first time here, yeah? Good to see you. But any reactions from anybody on any of that content, any comments you want to make?
Well, just this, I can see possibly several layers of the impact or effect of music. Like one, maybe the innate, like Nick was talking about, research indicating children learn or react to music before they learn language. So there's that level. And then there can be a layer on top of that of the meaning of music that could be learned from the culture, you know, and and then anything can be associated with something else. Like, suppose one music was playing when somebody got bad news, okay? And it might have even been a cheerful song, but that one song for that one person could invoke just memories of that bad news, something sad, you know. So there are different layers here. That's my thought.
That's sensory association, which could really occur with anything. Could occur with a smell, with a sight.
Right.
I have some sensory associations. I was about 2.5 and I was playing hide and seek, and I was in Cuba, and I went and hid in a trash can, and it was full of, it had about 4 or 6 inches of water in the bottom of it, which I got all over my shoes. But hey, I was hidden, and that stank so bad, and I couldn't get out afterwards. And then so we eventually had to dump over the trash can to get out, and had that stuff all over me. I remember that smell, and to this day, if I go to a like a dumpster or something that has that particular smell, I know that exact smell when I smell it, and I am 2.5 back in that trash can. And it was a neighbor's trash can. So we're thinking about points of growth. We're thinking about challenges in life that are causing you to reflect on. Let's try to bring a little more articulation to this a little bit, causing you to reflect on a need for a change in direction. a need for a reassessment of values, a recognition that something you saw one way in the past, you now see a different way. I think we all have that experience with some passages of scripture, right? What is a challenge? What challenge is in your life that is prompting you to reevaluate your values and how you apply them, and what trajectory that application might take you on that's different than the one you're on now?
I have a thought. It's not really for me, but it could be for me. It could be for anybody or everybody in general. But if somebody has some belief that they have strongly believed and maybe lived their life according to, and then all of a sudden they learn or they realize or they come to believe that, oh, my previous belief was false. Like if it's leaving Calvinism, or it could be anything, whatever the belief is. Then the question would be, what now? You know, what do I do now? And I think.
So that's interesting that you say that, Joe. What do I do now? Because we tend to be fixated on what people believe. What do you believe? And at the end of the day, once you've changed your belief so many times, you start to realize as you get older that it doesn't really matter what you believe. It matters what you do. Because whether I believe something or not, people say, do you affirm XYZ? You know what? If I affirm it or not, it doesn't make it true or not. Are you going to be affected by me if I affirm something or not? If not, why do you care? It's interesting that you say that. So if you stop believing Calvinism, what do you do? And do you have to believe something else, or can you just not believe something in that little gap?
Yeah. What did I say? Believe or do? What do you do, or what do you believe?
You said, like, if you no longer believe Calvinism, what do you do? And the fact that you use the word do instead of now what do you believe is very interesting to me. Because I think that's the right statement. That's the right question. What do I do?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about the feeling of kind of being lost that could be there in a case like that too.
Anxiety.
Yeah. And I think it's good. Yeah. So you don't want to go to absolute certainty to the opposite extreme of absolute confusion. And nothing has any meaning whatsoever, or despair, you don't want to go there.
Yeah. I connected something that it wasn't connected for me by somebody else, but I synthesized this because of the common use of the word anxiety. So in the video that I put out today, Ian
Phenomenal,
McGilchrist,
by the way.
What's that?
Phenomenal, by the way.
I'm glad you like that. When Ian McGilchrist talks about anxiety, I think Jordan Peterson does too, talks about anxiety, and people crave certainty, and then they are trying to get away from the anxiety of uncertainty. Well, we happen to know that the anxiety of uncertainty is the wisdom gem. When it comes to becoming a wiser person, you have to spend some time there. Now, I think that you can be overwhelmed, and maybe you need to take it in small, in dose sizes that you can handle. But I'm going to couple that with something that Guy Sengstock said when he was talking to Nick on this channel, and he equated love. One of the things he said about it is the willingness to enter into a tension of anxiety with that person and not be relieved of it. I thought that was a very interesting description of love. Now, if I put those two together, if I am contemplating an infinite, ultimate being, God, and I can't be certain about him. If I love that God, I have to somehow be willing to gaze into that which provokes anxiety. I have to be willing to gaze for a long time into that where there is no certainty, where there is anxiety, to the degree that I can handle it at any given time. That may not be very insightful for anybody else, but to me, that's very revelatory as far as how to orient myself in the future if I am interested in moving closer to God and or wisdom or those kinds of things.
Yeah, one of the things that Guy didn't say in the video, but that I feel like he might have said, is in reference to the to love. Like, one of the things that is in the conversation here is beauty, and that one aspect of what makes something beautiful is the hiddenness of certain things. And so when you are contemplating something about an infinite God, or just another person for that matter, when you're somebody you love, part of the thing that connects you to this person in a loving relationship is that you find something there you would describe as beautiful. It might not be necessarily a physical thing, but there's something that's beautiful to you. And Guy hits on this a lot about beauty, the aspect of beauty which is the hiddenness, the behind, that is unseen but yet is still calling you, and therefore you understand its presence even though you don't know it, even though you're not certain about the thing. So it's almost like that hiddenness invokes a sense of hope and anticipation of insight or revelation. But it's keeping the tension between the not knowing and the experience of having that uncertain thing hidden and present, that can keep you in a mode of love and interest slash pursuit slash beauty. I think that's something that he might in his own way bring out with regard to that, the certainty anxiety spectrum and the tension between it. Keeping yourself in a tense situation.
I'm really hooked. I'm contemplating the concept of beauty, and it's unfolding in my mind right now. So I can't talk while it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, something that you find beautiful, like maybe it's a picture or an object, or even, I don't know, but there's something inside, or there's an aspect of that thing which is unknown to you. There's an infinite possibility space behind, like somewhere in the aspect of that thing that is beautiful, that is drawing and calling, and that you're anticipating. And being in a place where there's a constant tension between you and the thing that is in front of you is I think is necessary in order for you to cultivate a fuller sense of meaning, and of goodness, of truthfulness, and beautifulness. or beauty with the thing. So, to put it simply, I guess, overly simply, if you were so certain about a particular thing, then it would cease to be interesting and beautiful, and you wouldn't love it. It would be stale and stagnant and boring. And that's, now I'm trending towards like nihilistic and meaninglessness thinking, because I have all this certainty. And it's like, you really want to go down that road? Because I don't. I don't want to go down a route of nihilism.
That's right. And it's interesting. Like, I think if I can quote you, Nick, if I have your permission, you don't even know what I'm going to say though. You referred one time to Christian theologians or Christian preachers as emissaries of nihilism, in a private conversation, because the pursuit of that set of certain propositions leaves one, there can be nothing but nihilistic. This concept of beauty that you are, this may kind of seem inappropriate for just a second, and I hope it does. I hope y'all are offended by this, but a man tends to find a woman beautiful, and there's a certain unveiling there. Like, a man always wants to see more, and no matter how much you see, there's always more to see. Now, whether it's physically or emotionally or otherwise, but when you think about mankind in general, the future of mankind is uncertain, and it is disclosed by a woman. The future will come out of a woman. The uncertain future, like tomorrow's generations, guess what they all have in common? They're all coming out of a woman. And when you look at a woman, is that there's a sense in which you see the shell of the future of all mankind. And it has so much to disclose. And it makes me wonder if, I would say design specifically, or an evolutionist would say, evolutionarily speaking, if we are designed or have evolved or whatever to find beauty there, because of that, there's an anxiety because you don't know what it will disclose. You could give birth to Cain, who's going to kill Abel. There's an uncertainty there. And when you try to take away that anxiety and uncertainty, you never get an Abel either, and you never get a Christ. So there's something about that. There's something about that unending capacity to disclose uncertainty and the anxiety that draws you into relationship with another that needs to be maintained at a healthy pace of reciprocal opening.
Well, this whole issue of certainty and uncertainty seems to me to relate to determinism versus free will, because if things are certain.
How'd you start that sentence, Joe?
Well, the issue of certainty versus uncertainty seems to relate to determinism versus free will, because if everything is certain, then that implies determined. If it's everything for all time.
So when you say
Certain.
free will, I'm thinking of the affordance of choice, which
Yes,
makes
that's
me
what I
think of
mean.
love, which makes me think
Which
love
relates
is to believe that being is worthwhile.
And I see
the only way that you can be and become is if there is a lack of certainty. Otherwise, there's nothing to be, because it's all fixed. And so to have everything deterministic or certain, either one results in no reason to be, which is nihilism.
Yes, that's exactly right. There's no meaning to anything because there's no hiddenness, there's no purpose. How can you have any purpose to something that's determined? Like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
and
There's no purpose.
and if there's no right, so if love is the affordance of choice, if there is no choice, then there is no love.
And that
And
seems to relate.
inherent in the notion of choice is an uncertainty.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Relate. That seems to relate the uncertainty you mentioned earlier with the other stuff.
So there seems to be a cluster of concepts that are popping up here, which is love, uncertainty, anxiety, being, choice, life, beauty. That's quite a cluster.
Liberty.
Kind of makes me wonder, like we're at 8:27 right now. Kind of makes me wonder if we should just enjoy this moment like a nice cigar.
Aporia is happening right now.
It is.
That's why everybody's quiet.
Wow. I'm of the mind to start bringing this to a close right there. I'm going to open up the floor for other comments right now. If there's something you got to say before we leave for the night.
I think we kind of have a little bit of an unspoken tradition. I don't know if it's a tradition yet, but procedure that if it's somebody's first time on with us, we kind of try and carve out a little moment for them to,
Yeah,
you
that's a
know.
good point. We have a little bit of time. Will, would you mind introducing yourself? Tell us a tad about yourself and what brings you in.
Hi, everybody. My name's Will, and what brings me in? Well,
You just went silent. I don't know if you accidentally muted. Will, can you hear me? Let me try to type to him. Will, can you hear me? You went silent.
yeah, I've been glitching. Maybe I should log off and log on again.
Just try again real quick. Let's see if we can hear you this time.
Okay, you can hear me though, right?
I can hear you right now. Yep.
Okay, great. My name's Will, and I'm here because I want to be around other Christians that love God, love the Bible, and are looking to dig deeper. Dig deeper into the Bible, Christian life, correction of doctrine. Like I know I enjoy a lot of the videos that have been presented. Recently, my son's been asking me a lot about Calvinism, and I've shot him a couple of your videos to chew. So I noticed the topic, and I've been pretty busy the last few weeks, but I know I wanted to get in and see what was going on, see what people are doing as far as their Christian walk and their search for God. And
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you aboard. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
I appreciate you introducing yourself. Anybody have any closing comments? Any comments you got to get off your chest before we head out?
Well, just one. God said his name was, I am that I am. And I seem to have read somewhere that it could be also interpreted as I will be what I will be.
Yeah. John Vervaeke points that out in
And-
episode 3.
And so that I see there a possible connection between the uncertainty and the love that we were talking about, the determinism versus freedom and liberty, that God is expressing their liberty, that he has a choice. He can choose to be whatever he wants or to do whatever he wants. That just seemed like a connection or an analogy to what we were talking about in the nature of God. Something to
Yeah,
think
I
about.
will be what I will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a non-deterministic kind of, there's something open to it. Any other comments?
I have one comment. That silence that we had there for a few moments was really kind of precious. It was so nice to have those few moments just to relax in what was said and to ponder it for a moment. I know in broadcasting they say no such thing as dead air. We cannot have dead air. But in conversations like this, sometimes we just need to breathe it in and absorb it. And so I appreciate you not rushing that too much. And thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in high octane conversations like we've been having lately. It's just really nice.
High octane. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out and noticed that. I felt like the only thing to do there.
What's
Any
nice
other
is,
comments?
I was gonna say, yeah, what I am getting out of this is I want to learn more about Nick, Dan, Roberta, Ruth, Will. Nice name, Will. Our son's name's Will. But anyways, and Kevin and everybody here. You know, it's I'm trying to figure, you know, if I can help Nick see from a different angle, like Kevin has helped me in certain areas to see things from a different perspective that makes sense. You know, if we that's what we're here for. We're here to try to help everybody push us up the rung of the ladder more, you know? And I love it. I love it. I mean, there's things said here that I'll think, okay, what did he mean by that? You know, I got to think about it. You know, where is he coming from? And Kevin likes to play the devil's advocate a lot of times. And, but, you know, that's what it's about, though, isn't it? I mean, I got to be able to learn something from Nick, even though you're, you know, half my age or whatever. And vice versa. You know, that's the whole idea. You know, that's it in a nutshell. We're here on a learning mission, and that mission then will set us forth to be better people, better equipped to, you know, kind of like bring in, I don't know want to say bring in the kingdom of God, because that's just but to be part of the kingdom
It's
of God.
kind of cliche, but I think that's in a sense a spiritual reality. Manifest the Logos might be another way to say it.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to say it. So, but anyways, that's my 2 cents at the end of this. Yeah.
So there's a guy in the chat. His name is Jamie Russell. I don't know what I'm getting myself into, and I'm going on his channel tomorrow night about 8:30 Central Time, I believe, after I finish my volleyball game.
Is this the Christian Middle Earth? Christian Middle
Jamie
Earth?
Russell, Christian Middle Earth.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've been super interested when I see his thing there. I have a million questions. I might text you a million questions to ask.
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm getting into. But,
send us a link on Discord.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
you?
Jamie, if you're out there, send us the link if you can get it set up, and we'll advertise it on this side too. All right, guys, this has been great. Billy, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk through your thoughts and share, making yourself vulnerable like that. And looking forward. Y'all okay keeping doing this next week?
Yep.
All right, guys. Peace out.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.